or a defeat, a victory for one side or a defeat for another, rather a triumph for our democracy and the rule of law. Now that the chiefs have settled, we'll urge Parliament to get back to work, since there's a lot to be done, even though the time is short. Today's meeting would like to discuss the manifesto proposals on the economy. The policy proposals put forth by His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the NPP's manifesto, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's proposals put forth in the NDC's 2024 manifesto to improve conditions for Ghanaians. This is the context in which the election will be held. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you will find that Dr. Bawumia and the NPP offers a far more potent set of policies to stabilize and grow the economy compared to the NDC's ideas. You will also learn that about the inherent deception of the NDC's 24-hour economy proposal. It is my hope, and we hope, that you will inform Ghanaians about these findings that you will make here today at this press conference to enable us all to make an informed decision to vote on December 7th for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the New Patriotic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, the NPP's 2024 manifesto offers bold solutions for jobs and business. Its ideas are forward-looking to stabilize and grow the economy. It is leveraging the digital revolution to make Ghana competitive. Given the opportunity, that is, if we vote massively for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the NPP's bold solution would fully position Ghana to benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, as you have reported on several occasions, the NDC's manifesto and the NDC's campaign has constituted merely an insult led by its flag bearer, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and an outright refusal to debate on the economy to help Ghanaians make an informed decision. In other words, they are running away from the debate, apparently because of how they know that their economic proposals do not pass muster. As things stands now, with the 24 days or so to election, Ghanaians are still confused about the NDC's plan to grow the economy. They propose a catchy phrase, 24-hour economy, but they cannot explain it. The NDC is running an empty slogan campaign. We will return to the 24-hour economy proposal that we believe is an empty rhetoric, a slogan that means nothing in terms of solution to the problems that confronts Ghana today much later. But now spread these ideas which we believe would help transform the economy. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP's bold solutions for the economy have been widely discussed and found by experts to be relevant, workable, and effective in sustaining the economic recovery and delivering a stable economy for Ghanaians in the immediate term. Dr. Bawumia's economic solutions focus on several key areas. One, sustaining and expanding Ghana's recovering economy, creating jobs, implementing comprehensive tax reforms, building Ghana into a world-class digital economy, reducing cost of living, and enhancing public infrastructure. These initiatives address the urgent challenges of economic growth and jobs for the Ghanaian youth. The details of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP's proposals are as follows. One, sustain and expand Ghana's rebounding economy. Ladies and gentlemen, The economy has rebounded strongly since we turned the corner in 2023. The average growth of the first quarters of 2024 stands at 5.8%. That is 4.8% for the first quarter and 6.9% for the second quarter. The IMF projects a 4% real GDP growth for 2024, but at this present rate, the economy is likely to expand beyond the projected 4% by the IMF. Ghana is on track, ladies and gentlemen, to outperform the IMF's 3.6% projection for the sub-Saharan region. Dr. Bawumia proposing the following, and I think I'll go and just list for you the specifics of the proposals under sustaining and expanding the economy. One, it is to accelerate the growth and expansion of the economy over the next 4 years. Under Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, we have increased the size of the economy by 20 billion since 2016. That is 2017, since 2017 when we came into office. From 56 billion, which we inherited, to 76 billion as we speak. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP's bold solution would likely double the size of Ghana's economy in the next 4 years. Two, the proposal by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP is to achieve and sustain average growth of 6% by expanding agriculture, mining, including establishing a Minerals Development Bank, the One District, One Factory initiative, emerging industries, building digital hubs and services, sports and tourism, and creative arts. So, as you would know, the first 3 years of our being in government, the first term of His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, this economy grew on average 7%. And going forward, we are projecting that the policies that we are putting, given the recovery, we are projecting that we'll maintain an average of 6% GDP growth for the next 4 years. Enhance public-private partnership as a primary funding model for public infrastructure projects. The challenge with government infrastructure projects, and you will see that every time the budget is passed, there's a concern about what's percentage of the revenue is allocated to capital expenditure, or CAPEX, as it's usually called. It's a big problem, and one of the reasons that infrastructure development moves at a slower pace than we would like. Now, the proposal by His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is to integrate the private sector to try and fund infrastructure projects. So the ideas of ensuring accelerated infrastructure development can be realized if government moves beyond its limited resources to embrace private sector in investing in public infrastructure. Establish an independent fiscal responsibility council to oversee fiscal policy. The Fiscal Responsibility Act was introduced by the New Patriotic Party, and we had operated according to it up until the disruption that followed COVID-19, where the act was set aside. But otherwise, we had operated within the 5% budget deficit provision by the act. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, if he becomes president, is proposing that he will establish an independent council to oversee the implementation of that policy. Amend the Fiscal Policy Responsibility Act to add a new fiscal rule. This is very important. Amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act to add a new fiscal rule requiring that expenditure in any year does not exceed 105% of the previous tax revenue. This is significant, ladies and gentlemen. The next proposal deals with the provision or the efforts to reform our tax regime. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP plans to offer a one-time tax amnesty to all Ghanaians and corporate entities. The tax amnesty from the payment of taxes from the previous years. Now, many companies suffer the liability of owing on their taxes, and this on their books affects their investment and reinvestment in their production. It affects employment. It affects a lot of things because they owe government and the pressure that comes with that. This policy will come in very handy starting 2025 January. All companies, all outstanding debts that are owed to the state in terms of taxes will be wiped clean, and everyone, this is not only to companies but to individuals, you and I, all of us to start on a clean slate going into 2025. This is likely to help drive a lot of job creation because these companies will likely reinvest these revenues or these tax revenues into productive ventures, and that will generate more jobs in our country for our youth. Waiving the interest and penalties for failure to file taxes in previous years will enable everyone to start their tax journey afresh, as I was just explaining to you, to wipe the slate clean for all taxpayers in Ghana. This is something very, very important, and as a matter of fiscal policy, it will create a lot of investment opportunity and expenditure within the private sector that will lead to employment and production. The manifesto also promised to introduce a flat tax rate or tax system in Ghana as it's found in Estonia. I think this we have talked about it quite a bit. But the idea is that the tax regime now is variable, oftentimes progressive, and it is subject to confusion and many more other complications that ordinarily you or I cannot calculate on our own. But the introduction of a flat rate will allow for us, all of us, to know if the tax rate is 10%, you know it's 10%. There is nothing more, nothing less to be added to it. And that will ensure that Ghanaians understand their tax obligation and liabilities to the state. Also, the proposal is to reform the value-added tax regime by merging all levies into a single line item levy and treating the merged levies as part of input and output VAT to eliminate the cascading effect in the current regime, which in essence just means that when the VAT rate is 17% or whatever percent it cuts across, there is no progression or variability in terms of what applies to input and what applies to output. It will be a flat rate, and it will be easy to calculate, and it will be cheaper relatively for Ghanaians and businesses to pay. Reduce withholding tax for small-scale gold exports to 1% to discourage smuggling. And you've heard on some occasions that people say the actual gold produced in Ghana is more than what is registered as what is sold. This is as a function of smuggling, because people try to evade the tax, and so they are unable to sell their gold through the appropriate channels so that they are tracked and documented. Very important one here: abolish the betting tax. This is a big one, and His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says that as president, this tax will be abolished. Incentivize Ghanaian startups in selected strategic sectors with investment tax credits for the first of their operations. So any startup operation will be available or will qualify for tax incentives to be able to drive their new venture. We'll digitize all aspects of tax administration to reduce leakage and improve efficiency and ease filing of tax. This is very important. The digitalization puts us all in control. We can do more remotely without necessarily having to be physically present at a government office or a public office. We implement the flat rate tax for all importers. This is also another important one. Bring predictability and stability in the prices of imported goods. This is very, very important. There's a flat rate that will be implemented for all importers, all product importers into our country. Again, will harmonize charges to align with charges in competing regional ports, particularly Togo. We often hear that Togo has a free port and that items from our ports are higher, or duties at our ports are higher. The proposal is that first in 2025, when it becomes president, this will be harmonized to other regional ports to ensure that we are competitive and that business that may likely be moving away from our ports to Togo would come back, and then that will contribute to creating jobs and opportunities for our people. The idea is also, again, on this is to ensure that our taxes on duties at the ports are either lower or the same as comparable ports in the sub-region. This, in all, will broaden the tax base, leveraging digitalization to capture more eligible tax voters to reduce the pressure on the few. And I'm sure you all have heard some of these conversations that just a few people are paying tax, the vast majority in the informal sector don't. This idea will ensure that we broaden the tax base. This has been a conversation that is had repeatedly, but with the advent of digitalization, we'll be able to achieve that feat, and that will bring the tax burden on Ghanaians down considerably. The next idea proposed by His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP is to endeavor to build Ghana into a world-class digital economy. And I think that should be a welcoming news for all of us, especially the young people and Gen Zs who are in tune with the fourth industrial revolution. This policy will ensure that the government is working with educational institutions and leading Ghanaian and global tech firms to establish a national robotics, engineering, and AI lab for research and training of young Ghanaians. And this will be unprecedented in terms of equipping our young people with the requisite skills to be relevant in terms of skills and compete favorably in the coming economy, which is going to be predominantly digital, IT, internet-based, and largely not, interpersonal or personal as things stand today. It's going to be predominantly digital, and with this implementation, will likely equip our people to be competitive on the global stage. Providing venture funding and grant support for commercially viable tech projects by Ghanaian startups to drive innovation, foster high-tech entrepreneurship, create jobs, and support the growth of Ghanaian high-tech businesses. Providing live lab opportunities to Ghanaians tech startups and matchmaking programs by purposefully connecting them to matured large tech firms working on government projects to help startups test their ideas in real-world environment and to accelerate their product development cycle. Now, the key thing here is that if you are supposed to be, or any young person in Ghana who has a good idea in IT, but is wondering how to operationalize that idea, this implementation will provide them an ecosystem where they can try that idea by working with companies who are doing real work for the government, particularly to test the validity and operationalize those ideas so they can take advantage of them. It is more or less provide you an opportunity to rehearse, to test your ideas in a real life situation. There can be nothing more beneficial than this. It gives us all the opportunity, and especially those within that tech space, the opportunity to cut the cost of making mistakes or cut the cost of initial investment, which could also be a function of, say, for example, lack of funds or just opportunity to get started. The government will work with the Bank of Ghana to sufficiently expand the regulatory sandbox to admit more Ghanaian and regional fintech companies. This will position Ghana as a multi-regulatory, multi-jurisdictional sandbox for financial and management interoperability. This is key. Again, the idea here is to gear up, position Ghana for the fourth industrial revolution to be up to speed, and then also providing opportunity for work in the IT world for our young people. Establishing a fintech fund. This is big, ladies and gentlemen. Establishing a fintech fund with a seed capital of $100 million to attract additional private sector funding to support Ghanaian startups developing payments and financial services solutions, primarily focused on region-wide exportable solutions. This is big, ladies and gentlemen. Continue leading the African Union policy campaign to achieve cross-border mobile money interoperability, significantly enhancing the buying and selling of goods and services across Africa. This will instantly expose Ghanaian enterprises and young entrepreneurs to a market of 1.4 billion people. Now remember, there's this conversation about intra-African trade is negligible, that we don't trade amongst ourselves. Oftentimes it boils down to payment platforms, how transactions are settled or concluded. And with this platform that the government will be pushing, and remember also that the headquarters of the Continental Free Trade Center is here, and so that gives us the opportunity to access the 1.4 billion African market. And that, for me, is a good news for the Ghanaian entrepreneur in business. Implementing digital residency for businesses and individuals in tech firms to register and operate from within Ghana. This also attracting and getting businesses within the tech space to set up in Ghana. Implementing a 5-year digital nomad visa and work permit to attract global tech talents to domicile and work in Ghana. Again, attracting talents and human capital to Ghana and creating jobs at the same time. Appointing a digital ambassador whose role will be to develop new external markets for Ghanaian digital talents and products and facilitate the export of same. Internet penetration will be increased, currently increasing over 90% in advanced economies. Internet, we will endeavor, I think Ghana currently, we have increased from 32%, which we inherited in 2016, to about 70% as we speak. The efforts of the government and His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will be to achieve 90 to 100% penetration. In other words, the efforts to achieve digitalization depends on the ability to make access to the internet universal for all Ghanaians, and that for me is a welcome news that we must all embrace and vote for the NPP to be able to realize this vision for our dear country. Implementing comprehensive data interoperability across government platforms to enhance transparency and streamline services. Now you have seen this being launched up and down, where we have the Citizens app, where what it is that once your data is captured with all the platforms that we have created so far, once your data is captured, you are not required in applying for or in accessing any government service to repeatedly provide your data. It will be captured, and this data will be interoperable for whatever purpose you need or for whatever service you need. Creating a marketplace to streamline public sector procurement. And you know all the challenges to do with procurement. This will be a welcome idea to ensure that we streamline all public procurement to create visibility and promote transparency. Another big one is abolishing the e-levy. All of us have that on our item list. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says that in 2025, when he becomes the president, he will abolish the e-levy in his first budget. Ensuring holders of Ghana card are not required to fill out separate forms to apply for passport. This you've heard about it. So once you have a passport, given that all the information on your data captured by the Ghana card application, you can just use literally that to obtain a passport. So all you have to do is to present your Ghana card, and in exchange you will get, or in addition, you will get a passport without all the associated present completion of forms and printing of documents and thumbprints. When you have the Ghana card, you can just have your passport without having to complete any documents. Working with industry players to make more spectrum available to operators at affordable prices, including 5G. And I'm sure you, the media, are very much aware of recently the President launching the 5G for Ghana. So that is an implementation that is already achieved. So for the NPP who is out there yelling to say that, oh, if you can do it now, some of the things are underway, and including this 5G that has already been launched by His Excellency and now the government of Ufala. The next policy idea is to reduce cost of living for Ghanaians. That's one of the major things that even all of us are interested in seeing how the government will resolve that. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP has an idea to do that, and some of it you know. Key is to ensure food security by stabilizing the prices of foods produced locally through financing and guarantee from Development Bank of Ghana and the Ghana incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending. That's GESA. This will mainly involve, one, upscaling the production of staple foods, investing in the preservation of staple foods, meats, poultry, and fish products. Reduce the costs of public transportation by, one, promoting and supporting electric vehicles, as EV for short, for public transportation, expanding the Gold for Oil program to continue stabilizing the price of fuel. Let me pause here. Those of us who are a bit older, if we're not 18, and we were here when, at least the 8 years before this government at least, you'll see that when food prices go up, they never come down. They never come down. It's never happened. They never come down. They always go up. And in fact, you can extend that to anything else in our country. Once the prices go up, it doesn't come down. But recently, you saw how high the food prices went, and now they have come down. It's never happened. How we're able to achieve that is partly due to the Gold for Oil initiative by His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and he's promising in his term as president to intensify the Gold for Oil program to ensure that we bring food prices down further. It is possible to bring food prices below 10 Ghana cedis. It's possible to bring it even further because we're leveraging what we have, which is our gold, to buy those. Because then the cedi will not fluctuate, which is really the basis for the increase. The cedi will not suffer that anymore if we have this policy in place. And I will entreat you all to vote for His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for yourselves, because you benefit from a reduced fuel prices in Ghana. Also, stabilizing the prices of spare parts through the flat rate for all importers policy, which will bring predictability and stability on prices of imported goods. Now, that I'm sure we've explained that, so you can remember that. Once there's a flat rate, you bring a container full of spare parts, you know it is 50 Ghana cedis you're paying, that's it. You bring it, you pay that, and there is no fluctuation no matter what the situation. You pay that, and so therefore you can fix the price. Making driver license valid for 10 years. How many of you are excited about that? Instead of the current renewable every 5 years. That for me would be good. It will save us all some time to be able to focus on our productive ventures. We'll ensure a variety of accommodation types. So this again is looking at how we bring cost of living down. Ensure a variety of accommodation types to meet different pockets and needs as follows. Social housing, including homeless shelters, overnight stay for the vulnerables, and expand the rent assistance scheme for low-income workers. How many of us know about the rent assistance programs, and how many have taken advantage of it? A lot. And if you haven't, I'll entreat you, if you have a need for it, to take advantage of it, because it's a great program. It's helping young people who are out of school, who are starting national service, who have gotten a new job and have moved to Accra. It's a very, very helpful policy that is helping people gain access or access housing.